Okay, so, alright, let's talk about the nodes. So the nodes is a topic that I want to explore more in the future and just speak much more and in depth about it, but just there's always the question is like, so can you speak more about the nodes? Can you explain it in a nutshell? Let's do that now. Because the nodes are super important. There are actually people, like I know Mark Jones, for example, he only works with the nodes on Pluto and other astrologers. That's it, just the nodes. Like, you have a session, let's just speak about the nodes. So the nodes, like what are they? First, they're not planets. Okay, that's the first thing that you have to understand. So imagine you have the orbit of the sun and the ecliptic of the moon, and then you have 2 points where they actually meet. Like it looks like 4 points when I cross them, but when you would see that in like reality, like you have 2 hula hoops you're putting on top of each other. There are 2 points where they meet each other, here and here. They are exactly in 180 degrees opposite to each other. Makes sense? So then, moon and sun. So in astrology, the moon and the sun are the luminaries. The moon is like your emotional life, your intuition, what you nurture yourself, and the sun is like the embodiment of what you're growing into, of who you are. So then you could also say the moon is the mother, the sun is the father, or you could say the moon is your past life, is where you're coming from, the sun is where you're going into. So then this is the essence of the sun and the moon are the essence, like these 2 points represent the essence of these planets. And all the planets have nodes, but let's say stick with just with that. So you have the south node and the north node, okay? So the south node would then be like down here and the north node up here. And they go, like when you look from the earth, like they go backwards. So they always are in retrograde motion. So they take about 2.5 years in each sign. So you have them in one sign and then in the opposite. Right now we are, and the south node is in Capricorn and the north node is in Cancer. Actually this month right now it switches and it moves from Sagittarius, south node, to north node, Gemini. Okay? So you always have it in these opposite signs. Now imagine the south node and the north node. For me, the south node, the way I would represent it is like, imagine you had 100 lives. Like you had 100 past lives, and you have a theme that you had in this life. Let's say you have been a slave. You are accustomed to obey, to be imprisoned, to do what your boss is basically asking from you, and that you are feeling very small and the world is not there to explore for you. Now imagine you are being born this lifetime and the south node represents that past life that you have been repeating many, many times. It's something that you have inside of you, that you are just into, like it's almost like it's ingrained in you, that you're naturally now as a slave, you bow down and you obey or you accept, or you're not opposing, you're not putting out your own will. Therefore it's like, it's something in you that is not healthy anymore, that you have to grow out from. But on the other side, you're very humble, you're very accepting with life, you're making the most out of the situation that you're in, and you maybe have a lot of faith in life. Just kind of making a general example, not going too much into detail. But that will be your south node. Now imagine you're here this lifetime to realize this is it, this is enough of this quality in your life. You have to come to the other side. You have to wake up to your north node. And the north node then is the opposite. Like let's say, for example, you had like the south node, let's bring in like, for example, it's a good example, like let's say you have had your south node in Libra. And the Libra south node is to do that you are just naturally inclined to have a tendency to be really much in relationships. You like to live with somebody else. You like to compromise your life. You like to share. Maybe even to a degree where it's too much. You're listening too much to other people. You're used to compromise too much. You're actually living in dependency. And it's just like this lifetime. It's not that this is like all wrong and it's like poor me, like this is bad. It's just you have to realize that you actually have something that you are allowed to do yourself. And that's the opposite sign, which is Aries. It's like you have the strength to speak your voice. Maybe you're afraid that the other person says no, you know, and that's why you cannot say it, because in your past lives you have been, you know, like with somebody that constantly said, that's not what I want, that's not how it should be. But now it's about becoming in touch with something that's alive and doing it anyway, stepping into that strength of waking up to something that's alive in you, but you have to work on that. It's like the North Node is like on the other side. It's like the South Node is like your golden cage. You have done that, you're familiar with that, you even choose to go back into it because you know the pain. You choose it because you know it. You don't know the North Node, and it wakes up with them, like in my experience, it wakes up with your Saturn return, which happens between 28 and 30. You are working on a new domain, you're getting pushed to hard work in a domain, actually it's for your best, but you are uncomfortable with it because it's like unfamiliar, and therefore you have to grow into the opposite side, which feels very liberating, but uncharted territory. And it's not about, like, and this is a really important point, it's not about, I'm coming from here and I'm going there. I have to get rid of South Node and I have to go to the North Node. This is what a lot of astrologers kind of say, or like, they're not making a point about it, that it's not like that, because it seems to be like that. And it's important to understand, it's like we are coming from something and you have a huge gift with yourself, and it's something that you don't need to work on anymore. You have too much of that. That doesn't mean you have to throw it away, but for example, for you would be like, you probably need to actually go into a relationship to raise your voice, to actually break out of it. You cannot just say, you know what, I'm never being in relationships anymore with the South Node in Libra, and I'm just figuring it out myself. I actually have to use the prison to break it. Like, I need to use that strength. For example, for myself, I have South Node in Scorpio. And like, I have a very strong tendency to go very deep, like an astrology teacher once told me, like balls to the wall, you know, always going full in. It's like, you know, more retreats, dark retreat, you know, meditation, going into the monastery. It's like trying really hard to push beyond my boundaries. And I have to learn to go into the opposite, like to relax, to enjoy, to make peace with the world, to have fun, to soften down. But that doesn't mean I have to like throw away like my monastic or my, let's say, all the insight I have gained in a retreat. It's just that's not anymore what I have to push so hard for. It's much harder for me to actually just, you know, make holiday and have no purpose and no mission-driven approach, like and just be in the outer world and gain materials. Like there's constantly a feeling in me like, oh my god, I have to get rid of it. This is like, you know, like making my soul heavier. So this is like South Node, North Node story, and just understanding that, learning like how that functions, how that works. It's a lifetime of a journey, but it's really about, again, as a Libra, like finding balance like in the middle of the two and using it really for the biggest gift. But it is the story of your life, and that's why people use it. It is like, that's where you're coming from, and normally like the whole story of your life is a bit like that, and now it's moving towards the other side, and that's where you're going into your destiny, you will call it. I wouldn't say that it's just a North Node destiny. It's more complex, more nuanced like that, and ultimately it's not that you just know your destiny. It's something that you're growing into when you look back. That was it, what I needed to do in all its detail and nuances and facets. But it definitely has a lot to speak, and it's a very important point to touch upon in a reading, yeah.